Hello, John Talley here with Boats.net. Today I'm going to show you how to change out the impeller on a 2012 Moomba Mobius LSV engine. It's really not that tough to do. No special tools are required, but let me show you the parts that I've chosen to pull this off. Let's step over to the table and then we'll dive into this project. Alright guys, there's only one part number that you need to order. With this Johnson kit, you get the impeller, you get the gaskets, the O-ring, even some lubricant to make it easier to install that impeller. Now, as far as the special tools, there are none required for this particular project. Well, now that we've got our parts assembled, let's dive into this and get it done. All right, guys, what we're after is the water pump, and it is on, quote, the front of the engine, which of course is pointing backwards. And you've got 4 brass screws, 5/16 or 8 millimeters if you're working with a metric set. And we're going to remove those. There will be an associated gasket. And then what we're going to do is spray some silicone spray up and around the impeller, crank the engine a couple of times, and that hopefully will help to extract it. And we're only going to use a pair of pliers to do that. There's your pump, and these are the 4 8 millimeter or 5/16 bolts that we're after. There's 1, 2, 3, and number 4. Your cover and your gasket. And when you remove this cap piece, you want to inspect it to make sure it's not overly worn and has deep grooves cut in it. This one's actually in pretty good shape, so I think we're good to reuse it. And we're going to spray some silicone spray in here around the impeller and then turn the engine over a couple of times. Now you won't be able to see this, but what I'm going to be doing is reaching in with either needle nose or those vice grips, like the vice grips better, just reaching in, grabbing a vane and working it out side to side until she finally comes free. Alright guys, so actually pulling the water pump housing to remove the impeller was not part of the deal, but that is exactly what I had to do because there was no way it was going to release the way it was. So what I'm going to do, I know it would be easier for me to pop the impeller back in now that it's not attached to the front of the engine, but I want to go ahead, remount it, and then approach it as if I didn't have to remove it to remove the other impeller. So give me a few minutes, let me get this mounted back up, and then we'll complete the impeller install. All right guys, so we've got the pump remounted. Now let's go ahead and install our impeller. Now it doesn't matter which direction you go, but what we're going to do is put some anti-seize. Just make sure it's marine grade on the inside of the splines, then maybe next time it won't be quite so impossible to get it to remove. Beyond that, we'll put some of the lubrication that came with the impeller on the vanes so it's easier to install. And once we get it on there, we want to make sure it's bottomed all the way out. So either use a block of wood with a hammer or a soft blow hammer to get it to seat all the way in there. After that, we'll install that new gasket and our outer cover with those 4 8 millimeter or 5/16 screws, and we'll pretty much be done with this one. All I'm doing is putting some anti-seize down inside the splines. Plus that's going to make it a lot easier to put on. Next, I'm going to get on some of the lubricant. We'll put it on the vanes, and then I'll reach around down into the pump and put some inside of the housing as well. Right, when you're installing it, before you engage the splines, you want to rotate it as you're pushing it in to get the vanes to go in the right direction. I'm not even going to have to tap this with a hammer or anything. It just slid right in there. So this combined with the anti-seize, that is the ticket. Here she is flush in there. But just make sure you get your gasket in the right orientation. All right, let's get this thing put back on there. So this section here goes to the port side. Put in the four-finger tight so you have a little bit of wiggle room to make sure you don't damage the gasket. And I'm going to go ahead and forewarn you that these bolts are made out of brass or bronze, and they're really easy to strip, so don't get carried away tightening this down. Well, all right, guys, that's going to wrap up this project. I'm just really hopeful that yours wasn't as difficult as this one was. Well, listen, if you need any parts or tools for your boat, why don't you come see us at boats.net and we can get you taken care of. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the section below and I'll do my best to answer them. And listen, if you like what you see, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you can keep up with whatever I'm working on next. We just want to say thank you for shopping here with us at boats.net, and we will see you in the next video. Y'all have a great day.